This is possibly the best video about Clash Royale. A lot of people don't know about the dark secrets that this game contains within, and today, I am here to expose them. People have tried in the past to make Clash Royale icebergs, but they have all failed in uncovering the truly deep secrets that this immersive game has to offer. A lot of you have probably watched the first Clash Royale iceberg. This is meant to be an upgraded version of it. I revised some of the theories and added some new ones. By the end of this video, we will uncover every secret Clash Royale has to offer, discover and expand upon the lore, and break the boundaries this amazing game has set for us. This video will change your perception of Clash Royale. The last level is insane. This video goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Unless you've seen my first iceberg, there is nothing on YouTube on the scale of this video. You will walk out a changed man. Make sure that you stick around until the second half of the video. Mark my words, you will not regret it. Without further ado, let's get started. It's going to be a wild ride.
Everything ends, anything goes. Watch it all burn as it goes up in smoke. Now it's my time, you can hear my name call. So stand back and watch it all fall. Watch it all fall. Watch it all fall. Watch it all fall. Fight hard and with my back to the wall. So stand back and you can watch it all fall. Watch it all fall. Watch it all fall. Watch it all fall. Fight hard and with my back to the wall. So stand back and you can watch it all fall. Watch it all fall.
Level 1. Blue Skies, Nerf Miner. Unless you've literally been living under a rock, you would have noticed that people have been spamming the statement Nerf Miner. It's basically satire based on the fact that Miner got nerfed a lot throughout the years. It's the new iteration of good stats for the cost, which we'll talk about soon. Heal Spell was removed. The Heal Spell is the only card to ever be removed from the game. Players could first obtain it in late 2017. After over 2 years, it was removed and replaced with the Heal Spirit due to basically nobody using it. It was basically the worst card in the game. You can see a testament to this fact in the Heal Spirit's description. It reads, RIP Heal. 2017 to 2020. Alas, we hardly used you.
As you might know, we've been talking about replacing heal for a long time.
But no matter what we did to the heal spell, it just didn't quite feel right. We wanted something that was a bit more interactive, that required a skill on both sides. Skill for you to deploy your heal spirit just right, and skill for your opponent to try to block or redirect the heal spirit.
Pek meaning. You might have noticed that P.E.K.K.A is shown as an acronym in Clash Royale. There is no official meaning of P.E.K.K.A, but a Facebook post made by Supercell in 2012 told fans to come up with an acronym. The acronym that received the most likes was Perfectly Enraged Night Killer of Assassins. Dragon RPS. There are two things I think this can be referring to, so I'll just mention both of them. RPS stands for Rock Paper Scissors. A trio of cards are called RPS if the first is effective against the second is effective against the third, and the third is effective against the first, just like the game Rock Paper Scissors. 3 of the 4 dragons are in one such RPS trio. Inferno Dragon beats Baby Dragon beats Electro Dragon, and Electro Dragon beats Inferno Dragon. However, it's not like this is common knowledge that everyone is aware of. Considering this entry was on level 1, it might be referring to something else. Another meaning could be that RPS was a typo and the Redditor meant to say raps. In the promo video for the Baby Dragon, the song in the ad was a rap. Here, take a listen.
I'm the baby dragon, yo, I know I'm adorable. Look at me, I ain't shy. One more thing, yeah, I'll fly. Must have been something I ate that makes me so darn great. Cause every time I take flight,
I burp fire from the sky. I'm the baby dragon. I'm the baby dragon. I'm the baby dragon.
I got you with some air support.
I'm the baby dragon.
Download and unlock me now, yo.
Pay to win. Clash Royale has a lot of in-game microtransactions that are non-cosmetic. They give you extra resources and cards, making the progression of the game faster. Because of this, many people have called out Clash Royale for being pay to win. My personal opinion is that Clash Royale is not pay to win, but it is pay to grind less. Yes, if you blow $1,000 on the game, you will have higher card levels than if you were free to play. You could progress the same amount without spending money. It would just take longer. Level 14/ Royale controversy. Oh god, this was insane. To sum it up, in October 2021, Supercell released an event called /Royale. You literally got 300,000 free gold and all upgrade costs were cut in half, including star level upgrades. At the time, we all thought that this was Supercell genuinely being nice to the free-to-play players, but soon, a bombshell was dropped that would flip the entire operation on its head. Supercell announced that level 14 cards would be added. Even that alone is pretty scummy to the maxed out players. Imagine finally finishing a marathon, but then the finish line gets moved another 15 miles. It's just disheartening to the people who thought the grind was over. However, the fact that it was right after /Royale caused the real backlash. Let me explain. Let's say you had 20 logs and were ready to upgrade them to level 13. It would cost 20 cards and 50,000 gold with /Royale. Once level 14 comes out, you would have 0 logs to upgrade to 14. However, if you upgrade after the update, you have 20 cards out of 10 and it costs 75,000 gold. After you upgrade, you will already be halfway to level 14. So if you upgraded during /Royale, you just got scammed out of 10 legendary cards, which is a lot, but you saved 25,000 gold, because that matters, right? One legendary card is worth 40,000 gold. So you basically saved 5/8 of a legendary in exchange for giving up 10 legendaries. A lot of people took this event as an opportunity to upgrade all of their cards, even the ones they didn't use. This drained their gold even further. It was clear that /Royale was Supercell's way of depleting players' cards and gold before they truly needed it. The community was in flames. You couldn't go inches on the Clash Royale subreddit without seeing someone ranting about level 14. Supercell heard this whole commotion and they reimbursed you half the cards you needed to get from level 13 to 14, and added a gold rush event that gave you another 200,000 gold. But it was too little, too late. Thousands of players were quitting left and right, and Supercell's already dwindling reputation was destroyed. Today, you still see the occasional person complaining about level 14, but the situation has calmed down. Clan Wars 2. In mid-2020, Supercell wanted to shake up the game in a way we've quote-unquote never seen before. So they released a huge update to Clan Wars, which was named Clan Wars 2. Very creative, I know. Anyway, the update immediately garnered extreme controversy. It was clear that the vast majority of players hated the update. I didn't play the game at the time, but from what I could gather, here were the main problems. Number 1, a universal war deck reset time, which gives players in certain time zones an unfair advantage. Number 2, smaller clans lose any chance of winning. With players having only 4 attacks per day in Clan Wars 2, small clans basically just lost any hope of getting first place in the river race. The bigger clans had a huge advantage because there are more players to get more fame. Number 3, in Clan Wars 2, even today, the matchmaking is abysmal. I remember finally reaching level 6 in Arena 12 and starting to play Clan Wars. The very first game I played was against a level 10 player in Challenger 1. Apparently, it was even worse back then. I couldn't even imagine how bad it would be, but the good players who were maxed out wouldn't complain. They got the good side of the deal. There's a few level 13s who feel bad just ruthlessly beating up low-level players, but for most, it was just a reliable way to always get more fame. You had to do it, if you wanted to get first place. See what I mean now? So Supercell stepped down and admitted they made a mistake. Drew, the Clash Royale community manager, released a statement on Reddit saying that Clan Wars 2 has the potential to be great, and, to his credit, he acknowledged that there were some logistical problems with Clan Wars 2, like the ones I talked above. He stated the problems, why they were problems, and potential solutions. After the big fix, Supercell sporadically released some small tweaks, like updating the UI and changing the name of Fame to Metals, but a lot of people still prefer Clan Wars 1. What do you think? Super Lava Hound. In early February 2022, Supercell released routine balance changes. The mini P.E.K.K.A got buffed, which is a big win in my book. Anyway, people quickly realized that there was a new updated Lava Hound. I'm going to show you guys a short I made on the day this situation was made. Today, Supercell released the new balance changes. People quickly realized that there was a new card that was extremely similar to the Lava Hound but was 8 elixir. It had slightly different stats than the regular Lava Hound. This was just extremely strange. Like, why would Supercell release a card and not talk about it at all? Why is it literally called the same as the whole Lava Hound? When I first found out about the new Lava Hound, I thought it was Supercell's weird way at hinting at a potential Lava Hound rework. But then Supercell tweeted this. Noticed the emphasis on the word super. CR Leaks said that the Super Lava Hound was meant to be used for a special challenge, and it won't be able for use in regular gameplay. Supercell merely released it in the trade token screen by accident, or maybe it was a hint, who knows. Could there be more supers in the future? Tell me what you guys think in the comments. So the Super Lava Hound was indeed used in a challenge. The interesting part about this is that while looking at a replay, when you attempt to click on the Super Lava Hound, it says that you can collect the card soon. So will the Super Lava Hound actually come out in the future? Who knows. Mini P.E.K.K.A says pancakes. Upon spawning, the mini P.E.K.K.A will say pancakes, which is confirmed by Supercell. To me, it sounds more like I'm Kirby, but I might just be imagining things.
He's a mini P.E.K.K.A. He's got one glowing eye. Mighty robotic warrior, born sported to the sky.
And he has one thing to say.
Mighty pancakes, here's some cereal cakes. Unlock the mini P.E.K.K.A now.
From this sound and the promo for the mini P.E.K.K.A, it's clear that the mini P.E.K.K.A is obsessed with pancakes. I'll get back to this later. P.E.K.K.A says butterfly. Upon spawning, the P.E.K.K.A says butterfly. Similar to how the mini P.E.K.K.A likes pancakes, the P.E.K.K.A likes butterflies. Clash-orama. Clash-orama is a comedy TV show created by writers of The Simpsons that contains characters from the two Clash games. The show depicts daily life between battles, and is actually pretty entertaining. Season 1 was alright, but Season 2 was surprisingly really funny and entertaining. However, the show has been on a 2-year hiatus, so it's not looking like Season 3 is coming out anytime soon. Draws. It is possible to get a draw in Clash Royale, albeit extremely rare, after overtime and sudden death. If your towers have the same HP, the game will end in a draw. Also, if you both destroy the other person's last tower on the same frame, it will be considered a draw as well. Knight. Good stats for the cost. A running gag in the Clash Royale community is that the Knight has good stats for its 3 elixir cost. It's like Color/Anarchy chess jokes. It doesn't seem funny until you're actually in that community. Positive elixir trades. A positive elixir trade is a phrase used when you place down a card to counter a card that is worth more elixir, therefore having a higher amount of elixir in the future. For example, if a Mega Nut was put down for 7 elixir, then you put a mini P.E.K.K.A for 4 elixir to defeat the Mega Nut. You spent 3 less elixir than your opponent, therefore having 3 more elixir to spend later. This phrase is generally associated with the popular Yabur orange juice. Free Supercell ID emote. If you connect your account to Supercell ID, you receive a free emote that is a chicken clucking. It's meant to be used as a taunt. Electricity resetting cards. Cards that charge up such as the Inferno Dragon, Sparky, and Inferno Tower will reset its attack when hit with electricity. It's an interesting tactic used to easily counter these cards. I remember when I first started playing the game in July of 2021, I used to play Triple Draft with my friend to try to learn the ropes of the game. By the way, he was in Arena 6. I think you can tell the quality of the advice he gave me. He said that Sparky was the most overpowered card in the game, and that Electro Wizard was the only card that could counter it. Me, still in Arena 1 at the time, somehow believed that. That's just a fun anecdote I wanted to share with you guys. Next entry, Hog Rider screams. The Hog Rider screams Hog Rider. When spawning, that's it, 2.6 Hog Cycle. On the topic of the Hog Rider, the 2.6 Hog Cycle is an extremely popular deck used in mid-ladder. It consists of the titular Hog Rider, Musketeer, Ice Spirit, Skeletons, Cannon, Ice Golem, the Log, and Fireball. Nerf Royal Giant. The Royal Giant has been infamous over the game's history for being very overpowered in the past. At first, the Royal Giant was terrible, so it got buffed. After that, it was really overpowered. Nerfs were slowly given over the course of years, but this really highlights Supercell's lack of speed when it comes to balancing op cards. Icebergs plus Rage. Elite Barbarians combined with Rage was an infamous combo. It made their fast move speed even faster and they would take down towers in a blink of an eye. The community was in shambles as this duo of cards were very OP and were considered toxic to use. After years of begging, the Elite Barbarians were sporadically nerfed. But this was too little, too late. I didn't play the game when this was making the rounds in the community, but I could imagine it was rough. This is just another piece of this game's history. Level 2, the tip of the iceberg. The miner doesn't mine. When a miner is deployed, you can make him burrow underground to any spot on the arena. However, he quote-unquote mines much faster than any other troop in the game, including his own walking speed. Hell, he literally goes faster than a drill. Even if he was mining insanely quickly, he wouldn't be going faster than when he was just walking. We can conclude that the miner isn't actually mining and more likely taking a minecart. Knights and barbarians are cousins. A little known fact is that knights and barbarians are cousins. This was explicitly stated in the knight's description. 250,000 gem tournaments. When tournaments were first introduced, you could start one for 250,000 gems. Buying that many gems would cost almost $2,000. Winning one of these tournaments would give you a chest that has, you may want to take a seat for this, roughly 100,000 coins, 12,000 commons, 2,800 rares, 500 epics, and 15 legendaries. That is just stupid levels of insanity. However, these were soon removed and replaced with a tourney that cost 10,000 gems and gave a heavily nerfed chest. 4 wooden chests. Now to go from the best chest to the worst chest. On an account, you can only get 4 wooden chests, which are obtained in training camp. You can theoretically get an infinite amount of every other chest, making the worst chest the rarest. Terrible Supercell support. Supercell support is infamous for being incompetent. Just look at this example. You can pause if you want to read the whole thing. The gist of it is that the player scored high in a tournament, so he was entitled to an exclusive emote. However, he never received it, so he contacted Supercell support. The agent said that giving him the emote would give him an unfair game advantage, and they couldn't give him free items. And then they blocked him from contacting support again. That's just so messed up. He earned the emote, and it's not like emotes give you a game advantage in the first place. The support is honestly abysmal. Battle taxes. Back in the old days, you had to pay a small fee of gold when you started a battle. This was removed, but from then on you got less gold from chests. No legendary building. There is no building in Clash Royale that is of the legendary rarity. Fan concepts have been made about how to implement a card like this, but it's not looking like we're going to get one anytime soon, considering we get a new card like twice a year. Season 8. Season 8 of Pass Royale was one of the most hated due to it basically being a copy of Season 3. They couldn't even come up with unique names. Season 3 is named to be legendary. Season 8 is called Return to Legendary. Night Witch and Witch are sisters. In an episode of Clash Royale called Clone Alone, it is stated by the Archer Queen that the Witch and Night Witch are sisters. They had a falling out after the Night Witch stole the Witch's best friend, and ever since they hated each other. The Archer Queen wanted to reconcile them.
stay in there. Go on. No one gets out until you both agree to talk to each other. Occupied.
Oh, man, I'm gonna talk.
Okay, let's hear some sisterly conversation.
None of this would have happened if you didn't steal my best friend.
I was a kid, but I'm sorry. And she dumped me for a musketeer the next day, if it makes you feel any better.
No, it sort of does.
Well, I guess now the Archer Queen is both our new friend.
Really? What kind of friend locks you in a skeleton trap?
Let's exclude her.
Hey, what if we just became each other's best friend?
You're right. What do we need the Archer Queen for?
Maybe it's time to come out now. Why did I put so many nails in this?
Mother Witch isn't a mother. Expanding on the Witch family, the Mother Witch doesn't spawn troops unlike the Witch in Night Witch. The Mother Witch instead curses troops and upon death, they turn to hogs. Because of this, it was theorized that the Mother Witch, despite her name, isn't a mother. However, a more likely theory is that the Mother Witch is the Witches in Night Witch's mom, as she looks much older than those two. 14 skeletons. There are 14 cards that are associated with skeletons, including Larry, Skeleton Army, Tombstone, Graveyard, Giant Skeleton, Bomber, Guards, Skeleton Barrel, Bomb Tower, Skeleton Dragons, Balloon, Wall Breakers, Skeleton King, and the Witch. Bots. You can play against bots in Clash Royale. This basically means a free win, since they place down like one musketeer the entire game. My record for fastest win was 17 seconds in which I played against a bot. There's a really easy way to play against bots. I'll tell you how to do it, but use it at your own risk. Using this method is knowingly using an exploit, which are grounds for a ban. Don't use this to trophy push, okay? When you press battle to enter a match, if it says estimated time, press cancel. Repeat until it places you into a match without saying estimated time. You're probably going to be placed against the bot. For some reason, this method stops working after you reach Arena 12. Bots have a generic name like Chris or Susan and aren't in a clan. I think that bots in a 1v1 match shouldn't exist, and they were probably just added to increase player counts to make Supercell look good. This actually makes the game experience worse. I literally went from Arena 3 to 12 in a weekend because of bots that gave me free wins. Once I reached Arena 12 and I couldn't play against bots anymore. I was hard stuck. I had to play against real players, and since I was only playing against bots, I was terrible at the game. I had to learn the ropes at a stage where people were already versed with the game. Once I did, I progressed through Arenas 13 and 14 relatively easily, and I sit in Challenger 3 today. Honestly, Supercell should just remove bots altogether. They just make the game experience worse. Pekka is female. Mini Pekka is male. Even though the two Pekkas look and sound like robots, it's been confirmed they have genders through loading screen hints. It is also explicitly stated in Clash-orama. Take a listen.
Look, son, you're not a wizard. You never will be. It never works out when someone tries to be something they're not. Here are some quick examples. There was the Pekka that thought she was a hog rider.
The Pekka is female and the mini Pekka is male. In Clash Royale YouTube comment sections we can see people arguing about the gender of the two Pekkas and whether a robot can even have a gender. It's honestly hilarious. The fact that they do have genders begs the question, are they robots in the first place? We'll get to this as we dive deeper. Poison Spirit. Poison Spirit is a recurring joke on the subreddit/Clash Royale Circle Jerk. It's basically making fun of the stupid card ideas that people make on the main sub, like Poison Spirit, Fight Against AIDS promotion. At the end of 2016, Clash Royale partnered with Red to offer a $5 deal in-game that gave you an exclusive tower skin until December 6th and 500 gems. 100% of the proceeds went to Red. This is just a cool and helpful promotion in Clash Royale. LVL1 players. There are a lot of people who try progressing as far as possible while staying King level 1. This is much harder than it looks, as staying at level 1 means upgrading almost nothing. There are people in the legendary arena that have towers frail as hay and have mostly level 1 cards. That is actually insanely impressive. The world record at the time of scripting is 6,274 trophies, achieved by Blueprint Smiley Face. Props to him. Inferno Dragon is armored baby dragon. The Inferno Dragon looks and sounds very similar to the baby dragon. The machine on the Inferno Dragon's back probably turns the baby dragon's fireball into a fire beam that charges up. Clash Talk. Clash Talk is a phrase used to represent the rise of Clash Royale content on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. A lot of creators like Crusher21, Clash Central, Classic Royale and way more have pretty much experienced the gas meme posting Clash Royale shorts. Clash Talk creators tend to follow a lot of trends. I'll show a couple of trends here. These creators are the reason I got into Clash Royale shorts in the first place, and the reason I started getting a lot of views. Clash Royale is the same universe of Clash of Clans, due to the two having the same characters, being centered around fighting, and even having Clash in the name. They are probably one and the same. Supercell explicitly stated in the description of Clash Royale that it's set in the same universe as Clash of Clans, which is why it's the only theory with 10 crowns. While I don't consider Clash Arama to be canon in the Clash universe, the Clash Royale arenas are literally right next to the villages. There is tons of evidence supporting this, which we'll get to. but I'll mention the best known one in the next entry. Mega Knight was the builder. The builder from Clash of Clans went on vacation in the summer of 2017. Coincidentally, the Mega Knight was also released in the summer of 2017. The builder and Mega Knight also have the same eyes, which is highlighted by this image. The theory goes that the builder was mad. People weren't taking his job seriously and were making fun of him. He decided he would have no more of this. He would fight, and he would be the best at it. He used his building skills to build a huge suit of armor and used it to fight as the Mega Knight. However, in some promo art for the Mega Knight, it is shown having different eyebrows than the builder. Also, the description of the Mega Knight states, he lands with the force of 1,000 mustaches. The builder doesn't have a mustache. Honestly, there is a lot of evidence for and against this theory, but I'm leaning towards it being true. Level 3, Shallow Waters. Clash-orama isn't canon. This isn't really an entry, but something I just want to state. From this point on, I might be referencing Clash-orama. A lot of people called me out in the first iceberg for using Clash-orama to support theories. We have tangible proof that Clash-orama isn't canon, since in the episode Clash-orama, it shows a clone getting cloned.
I'm a clone.
I thought you might say that. That's why I brought Jacko.
That's why you brought me? I thought we were getting something to eat.
Well, first, can you do what we talked about?
Mm-hmm. And clone spell.
Meet you.
Hey, guys. What do you do for fun around here? Please tell me it's not that.
There, you see how eager that guy is? And he is a clone of a clone, even more fragile than you. He reminds us that we all have to live in the moment. Clash ADM. I still don't think he's convinced. Would you mind?
All right, but I should tell you that when I don't eat, I get cranky. But still... Whoa, pretty good-looking group. What are we, some kind of boy band or what?
I'm glad you came out.
Me too. Clone number 8 really got to me. I mean, if he's not afraid to live life, then no one should be.
Life is short, right? So let's live bravely, fear nothing, and...
Oh.
This isn't possible in the game, and it literally explicitly states it in a loading screen hint as well. So, for foreclosure, if I use Clash-orama in an entry, I'm not using it to prove the theory true, I'm using it to merely support it if it is true. Scrapped cards. In a presentation, Supercell revealed cards that were considered to be added to the game but were scrapped, including Charger. It wore a helmet, and while it was on, it would have a long-range dash attack. When their helmet broke, they would attack by punching normally. Portal. You could pick an entry point, and if troops entered it, they would be teleported to the other side of the arena. Yeah, I see why this wasn't added into the game. Gunner. The gunner looked like a prince, but instead of using a lance, he used a gun. Hologram tower. This was a building that was a look-alike tower. Enemies would think it was a tower, but it wasn't. I'm not sure how this is a good idea in any way, shape, or form. Barbarian launcher. This was a cannon that shot barbarians. This would have been pretty cool, but it wasn't added because Supercell thought it was boring and it would probably be game-breaking. Ice Wizard Tower. This was a tower that had an ice wizard that shot freezing beams. This was replaced with the Bomb Tower because it slowed down the pacing of the game when it literally froze everything. Gift. This gives you a random card, similar to the move Metronome in Pokemon. It was scrapped for obvious reasons. Mega P.E.K.K.A. There is a Mega P.E.K.K.A. in Clash of Clans, and Supercell wanted to add it to Clash Royale as well. There were 3 concepts for this. Number 1, infinite damage, but extremely low health. Number 2, a carrying tank for a mini P.E.K.K.A. Number 3, a P.E.K.K.A. that wouldn't get distracted. Even if they were 9 elixir, all of them would be really OP. Bear Trap. It would probably capture an enemy that got too close and did a bunch of damage before letting it go. This is really unique as it's the only trap in Clash Royale, but sadly it never got added. Chain Tesla. A Tesla that did chained attacks, similar to an Electro Dragon's attacks. People complain about the regular Tesla. This would just add fuel to the fire. Wolf Rider. The predecessor to the Ram Rider. It was basically an archer on the wolf. Butterfly Swarm. This would distract all enemy troops, winning you precious time to defend or attack without any intervention. This would have been really fun to use, but it would have made the entire Clash Royale community mad. It's basically freeze but even more annoying. Dark Mirror. This is like a mirror, but instead of mirroring your last card, it would mirror the opponent's last card. This wasn't added because the devs were having a hard time coding it. Trojan Horse. A giant stone horse would roll across the arena, and once at a tower would spawn troops. This is similar to the Battle Ram, but much cooler. Dragon. There's a baby dragon, skeleton dragon, inferno dragon and electro dragon. Why isn't there a normal dragon? Well, while the devs were importing the design of the dragon from Clash of Clans into Clash Royale, it was too big and didn't look right. They ended up just going with the design of the baby dragon. Mega Minions are robots. When the Mega Minion is flying, you can hear a robotic whir that sounds like machinery. It could have been created by the builders to be a better version of the Minion. However, in the Mega Minion's description, it never says that it is a robot and rather it is an armored minion. So I doubt this is true. Still possible though. Sparky is sentient. A loading screen states that calling Sparky a trash can on wheels hurts her feelings. Sparky isn't even a robot. It's a machine, but it still apparently has emotions. In the Clash universe, have the builders figured out how to create advanced artificial intelligence and that's why robots and machines have actual consciousness? Who knows? However, this could be a joke as the community's nickname for the Sparky is Trash Can on Wheels. So it could just be an allusion to that and not indicative to the lore. Valkyries are scammers. In Clash-A-Rama, Valkyries are shown doing questionable financial decisions, like in the episode named Pork Turgist. Valerie the Valkyrie is a famous businesswoman. She said, quote, "When I saw your success, I knew you'd try to take us over, because that's the kind of thing I would do." When the owner of a competing business tried to go to war and destroy Valerie's hut depot.
I don't know, Ghosty. They've got some heavy defenses. Expos, mines, cannons. We're just hogs.
And hog riders. You're overthinking it. We mapped this all out. There's only one thing left. For you to inspire your troops. Tell them why we need to fight.
We have no time to waste, so I'm gonna make this short. And short on details. They're the enemy, and we attack enemies. So let's attack for the village, for the clan, for Hogmax, for Daddy!
When I saw your success, I knew you'd try to take us over, because that's the kind of evil thing I would do. So we were ready, and now we're ready to make sure you never try that again.
The Firecracker was an archer. The Firecracker looks very similar to the archer, has the same amount of HP, and the Firecracker's description reads, shoots a firework that explodes on impact, damaging the target and showering anything behind it with sparks. This is what happens when archers get bored. Based on all of this, we can conclude that the Firecracker was an archer that wanted to pursue something more explosive. Pun fully intended. Spell Valley crystals make rage spell. When playing a rage battle, it takes place in the Spell Valley arena. The Spell Valley crystals share the same pinkish color as the rage spell. Due to this, The Spell Valley crystals might be a key ingredient for creating the rage spell. Something small that could disprove this theory is that in a Clash Royale episode, it shows how the rage spell is made. It is basically a normal chemical, and then someone goes and trash talks it, making it mad.
Or how about rage?
You call yourself a beaker? You're nothing but a flask! You'll never find true love!
This is definitely a joke, making the crystal rage theory likely. Gem Rush? In 2018, there was once an event called Gem Rush, similar to the Gold Rush and Crown Rush we have today. For your first tower destroyed, you get 5 gems. The second you get 10. And the King Tower gave you 15. This probably never came back because it's not in the best financial interest to give away gems, a resource that is mainly gained by paying for them. Typical greedy cell. Royal recruits are robots. The royal recruits can't see. They literally have a barrel over their head, blocking their eyes. The royal hogs are similarly blinded. They could both be robots that have multiple sensors that allow them to travel in the arena. But in the case of the pigs, they could have olfactory abilities high enough in order to traverse the arena, but with the royal recruits, this is strictly impossible if they are normal humans. We already have evidence through the By the Sparky that the builders are able to create advanced robots, and the royal recruits could be robots that are meant to look like humans. There is a more sinister theory, but I'll get to that later. Guards are dead royal recruits. On a darker note, what if the royal recruits are the guards before they died? The guards are basically weaker recruits. I just wanted to put that out there. Clash Royale anime. On December 8, 2017, Supercell released a 30-second video that was Clash Royale as an anime intro. Have a look. Master Builder is in the flying machine. In the description of the flying machine, it explicitly says that it was created by the Master Builder, and you can even see the parts of the machine on appear in Clash of Clans, which the Master Builder will assemble. However, this entry states that the Master Builder is actually inside the flying machine. In the art for the flying machine, you can see legs sticking out of a vehicle. Going out of the game, in the reveal trailer for the flying machine, the Master Builder is seen riding it in the sky. Mini P.E.K.K.A is inside P.E.K.K.A. In an episode of Clash Royale called Clone Alone, a good chunk of the episode takes place at a nightclub. Honestly, I'm really surprised that a kids' TV show contains a nightclub and depicts what happens in them. But whatever, the Mini P.E.K.K.A is the DJ, and he is shown operating his equipment inside the P.E.K.K.A. This was probably just a joke and not indicative to the lore. Builder's Workshop was training camp. Builder's Workshop is Arena 6 while the training camp is basically Arena 0. The theory states that the training camp was turned into the Builder's Workshop. There is a tree in the top right corner of both arenas which was cut down in Arena 6. There is a spare log in both arenas. There are arrows on the ground, walls of both arenas. Zooming out of training camp in game shows a large forest. The resources from the surrounding forest could have been used to construct all the wood that is used in creating the builder's workshop. The bandit is a disguised princess. In the Clash-O-Rama musical, the princess disguises herself as a bandit because her father, the king, wouldn't follow her battle strategy.
Hey, Dad. Oh, spinning. Okay. When can I talk to you about our battle plan? I've been thinking that an elite barb hog rider attack would...
Annie, let's stick to my plan, Kay, because it's a tournament.
Father, no bother, but I gotta dissent. I've been down day one for this tournament. I don't wanna be contradictory, but I can help lead us to victory.
You're not a strategist. You're my daughter, a flower. Trust me on this, your place is in the tower.
Dad, you gotta hear me. My attack can make some history.
Listen to my orders and I'll guarantee you.
But Dad, I swear my plan is the key to victory.
He never listens to me.
Gotta get tough and tough times demand it. I gotta use this stuff and turn into a bandit.
Honestly, I don't have much to say here. It was probably just a one-time thing, and the bandit is not a princess. Prince and Dark Prince ride the same breed of pony. It's stated on the official Clash Royale website that the Prince and Dark Prince ride the same breed of pony. This was an obscure fact I just wanted to point out. Skeleton dragons know how to play the xylophone. The description of the skeleton dragons says they also play a mean ribcage xylophone duet. In the famous music video Spooky Scary Skeletons, a skeleton's ribcage is used as a xylophone, and ever since, skeletons and xylophones have been associated. The skeleton dragon's description is merely an allusion to this. Goblin Brawler is Shrek. Just look at him. Don't tell me that it doesn't look like Shrek. In all seriousness, the Goblin Brawler is not Shrek. Level 4, The Depths, which is an abusive mother. In Clash-O-Rama, the witch is sometimes shown abusing her skeleton kids. At the beginning of a Clash-O-Rama episode named How the Other Half Clashes, the witch is shown taking fingers from her son to make a spell.
Hey, Jack, get over here. Ta-da! Oops. Jack, clean that up.
In addition, in the intro of the musical, the witch kills a skeleton for singing off tune.
You're flat.
Also, in an episode called Lost in Donation, the witch whips a skeleton to make him go faster.
Outlaws, we're under attack!
Train robbers!
Mush, you boneheads! Mush!
Slow down so we can attack you! Put your hands and bones in the air! Yeah! Yeah! Rope the big one first!
However, I really doubt Tolerable Entertainment would intentionally put this cruel detail in their kid show. I think those 3 examples I mentioned earlier were just dark jokes. Becca is not a robot. There it is. I've been hinting at this since the beginning, and I'm finally going to talk about it. A loading screen hint says, Becca. No one knows what's behind that mask, maybe even another mask. This implies that the Becca is not a robot, and someone is inside her. The first theory is that the Becca is a mech and someone is inside controlling it. This is supported since there is official art showing the Valkyrie controlling the P.E.K.K.A. Yes, the art wasn't created by Supercell, but Supercell chose to share it. However, in an animation, she is shown chasing a butterfly using natural movements. This would be close to impossible to pull off when controlling a mech. The second theory is that the P.E.K.K.A. is just a woman in a heavy suit of armor, which is more plausible. Maybe she was an ordinary civilian but wanted to fight in Clash Royale. She got the builder to build her a massive armor suit and used a voice changer to disguise herself as a robot. Maybe the mini P.E.K.K.A. is that woman's son who also wanted to fight, and the builder built him a protective suit as well. The son really liked pancakes, which is why he says pancakes upon spawning. This is more of a stretch, but the mini P.E.K.K.A. could be saying I'm 9. You know how little kids always like to say their age? Maybe that little boy is just saying his age when he attacks. The woman loved chasing butterflies, so she always does that when she has the chance. We don't really have any evidence for or against the second theory. It's interesting, even if it's false. There is a third theory, but I believe it deserves its own entry, so look forward for that. Clash Royale is a sport. What if the troops in Clash Royale are just playing a game? We can see evidence for this through spells like the rocket. If the rocket was an actual rocket, it would blow up the arena. However, it only leaves a tiny crater that goes away after a few seconds. The smallest rocket in the world, the GBU-39 small diameter bomb, has a blast radius of 8 meters, or 26 feet if you are a freedom-loving patriot. That's way bigger than the actual rocket in the game. Therefore, it's probably not a rocket. A princess is pretty fragile and dies to spells like the arrows. However, when a princess tower, which has a princess on it, is pelted by arrows, the princess on it is just fine. Also, why would the goblin brawler fight against the team that broke him out of the cage? Why is he in there in the first place?
All right, which one of these guys stole your hog?
Number 4? Yeah, definitely number 4.
That's a definitive ID. Matches a sketch we got from a witness, too. Take him away.
Yeah, so, turns out my hog wasn't stolen. I just forgot where I parked it. No hard feelings?
Do you see what I mean? My theory is that Clash Royale is a game like laser tag, but more high-tech. The fireballs and rockets and everything that would be fatal are just holograms, but they decrease your quote-unquote HP. Once your HP reaches 0, you must go back to your side of the arena, waiting for the team captain, who is you, to tell them to join the game again. There's a cost to notify them to join the game again in the form of elixir. You get 1 elixir every 3 seconds, and different troops have different elixir costs to rejoin the game. We can see this in action in an animation. I'm not going to show the full thing because of spoilers for something we will cover later, but here's the beginning. You can see elite barbarians, a bandit, and a mini P.E.K.K.A. waiting on a bench. If these troops were actually battling, this would make no sense. But based on my theory, it makes perfect sense. They're just waiting to rejoin the game. Also, this guy has a mid-ladder menace deck. Just wanted to point that out. Supercell, listening to my rambling, you might be like, well, obviously Sherlock, but none of this is actually stated. Honestly, this is the most intriguing theory so far. This has tons of evidence supporting it. And it's most certainly true. Kings kidnapped the troops and made them fight. In contrast, in a commercial that only aired in one country, the king is shown taking troops from Clash of Clans and bringing them to the arena, showing them around. However, sometimes the king took troops against their will. The Barrel Rickroll. On April 1st, 2018, Clash Royale announced a new card on Twitter. It was called The Barrel. It cost 1 elixir and did nothing. They had a link to watch gameplay of The Barrel. When you clicked it, you were taken to a song that we all know too well. On a controlled tangent, it's really cool how the barrel is 1 elixir no matter where it is. For the Goblin Barrel, there are 3 goblins, which are 2 elixir plus the 1 elixir barrel for 3 elixir. For the Barbarian Barrel, there is 1 barbarian which is 5 divided by 5 which is 1 elixir plus the 1 elixir barrel for 2 elixir. There are 7 skeletons in the skeleton barrel, and since 3 skeletons cost 1 elixir, 7 skeletons are around 2 elixir plus the 1 elixir barrel costs 3 elixir. That's really nice attention to detail. This was actually a pretty funny April Fool's joke. Well played, Supercell. Well played. Archer's hair color. According to Supercell, the Archer's hair isn't naturally pink. Instead, they learned to dye their hair on YouTube. This might be a joke, but if it isn't, this raises so many questions. If YouTube exists in the Clash universe, that means it takes place in a modern setting, unlike the medieval setting that is assumed. If Clash Royale takes place in the present, why do troops use swords and bows instead of guns? This ties into my theory of Clash Royale being a game and not a fight, and if it is true then this makes sense. More on this later. Kings are wizards. In an early beta, the King Tower was occupied by a wizard. That means that at one point, the wizard was the king. In reality, the wizard was probably just used as a placeholder and it doesn't mean anything. Elixir is blood. If elixir is blood, that raises the question, why are we generating it? Well, when a troop is defeated, elixir bursts out and is soaked into the ground. Maybe it's transported back into the King Tower for use. Blood contains DNA in the nuclei of blood cells. Maybe an organism can be created by replicating this DNA into a troop. This process takes a couple of seconds, which explains the deployment time. To be honest, this could be true, but I doubt it. I don't think Elixir has some lore behind it, barring Clash of Clans, and it's simply a gameplay mechanic. In the bowler's description, it literally says that he drinks dark elixir. Plus, in Clash-orama, elixir basically replaces beer at bars. If it's blood, then I don't know what to say.
If they refuse to be together, I'm just going to have to get them together.
Yeah, just like I have to get a new model.
Hi.
That's why there's elixir, people.
The Executioner hates being around people. In an episode of Clash-orama, the Executioner is shown having social anxiety. He hates being around people and prefers staying at home all day with his parrot.
Okay, I'm awake. Jeez.
You're listening to KLSH, your #1 source for alternative music with long clarinet interludes.
Support for KLSH comes from pillagers like you.
Yup, it's a perfect day to be alone.
So that's who never tips at Clashmas.
Hello! Never mind me. Sorry to have bothered you. Hi, let's make you into someone. Who is a person I feel comfortable around. I got me a new pal. A new pal for all of us.
Hey, Edward, what's up?
If I can't see him, he can't see me.
I see you. You do know I can see you, right?
Oh, hello.
Good to see you out. You want to have a cold one? It's prime vintage, 8 hours ago.
Oh, normally I would, but today he's busy.
Oh, man, battle time. But good news, that means you don't have to make up an excuse.
So good. Fiber.
Well, this is me.
Well, it doesn't say no clones.
After a battle, I like to unwind with some tea and without anyone else.
Oh, no problem. I want to go check out the neighborhood, meet some people, chit-chat, chew the fat, etc. Hi, stranger. Want to have a conversation?
You... Cha! What? Oh, great. More interaction. Hey, you can't stay out here. If clones even sneeze wrong, poof, you're gone. Come on, come inside.
Really? Oh, wow, thanks. But you don't have to worry about me. I find worrying is a waste of time.
Really? It's how I fill my time. Worrying's pretty much my hobby.
Isn't that a little negative?
Great. Now you've given me something else to worry about.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Whatever. What are we doing tonight?
Staying in. I have an even smaller axe, and I was going to use a very small sharpener to sharpen it.
Nope, not happening, because we are going to check out Club Royale. There's a P.E.K.K.A DJ playing music off another P.E.K.K.A. Isn't that messed up?
Club Royale? Music? Crowds? No, thank you. I'll just stay home and wash my mask. You go on without me.
Look, as a clone, I know life is short. Sometimes super short. Battle goes wrong, you could go at any moment. You gotta live life, not lock yourself away. Huh?
Well, if I may be honest, sometimes cutting topiaries can get lonely.
No!
Yes. Well, I'd like to try having fun, but nah, I don't even know how.
Well, lucky for you, you have a teacher right here. First, we spruce up. Okay, I'm ready.
Wait, what? We're wearing the same outfit. Yeah. Wow, it's a very social situation.
Just relax and follow the guy who's only been alive for 1 day. My rider.
Yeah.
It's a squeal deal.
Made it. I don't fit in here.
Listen, I'm a clone of you, so if I can do it, you can do it.
Huh? Oh, maybe you're right.
I don't think this is true in the actual game. However, Dark Elixir. Dark Elixir is a resource in Clash of Clans used to obtain and upgrade certain types of troops, namely heroes like the Barbarian King and Archer Queen. The heroes always have been speculated to come to Clash Royale for years, and they finally came in the form of champions in October of 2021, but Dark Elixir never made it into Clash Royale along with them. It's the only main resource in Clash of Clans that isn't in Clash Royale. However, there are two hidden places where Dark Elixir shows up. In the bowler's description, it says that he digs the simple things in life. Dark Elixir drinks and throwing rocks. A more obscure place where Dark Elixir can be found is in the minions' attack. If you look closely, you can see that the minions actually don't claw their opponents. Instead, they throw a small black substance at them, which is most likely Dark Elixir. Both of these examples make sense since in Clash of Clans, they are both considered Dark Elixir troops, whatever that means. Also, don't yell at me for getting the definition of Dark Elixir wrong in the comments. I've never played Clash of Clans once. For the people who will still berate me, just try telling me what got Zamak from Cookie Clicker is without googling. That should put you in your place. Elixir Golem is an alien. In the reveal trailer for the Elixir Golem, it is seen coming out of a meteor that crash landed onto the arena. The king was scared of it, implying he didn't recognize the golem. He was also speaking in a foreign language that no one could understand. While this quality is synonymous with all golems, it's just another piece of evidence. Because of this, it's pretty likely the Elixir Golem is an alien.
This is the best Halloween ever! Nothing could spoil this. Uh-oh, meteor.
I'm sorry, what? I don't speak Gollum. Does anyone here
Now this is the best Halloween ever. Oh!
Don't chew double trouble gum while running. A loading screen hint states, don't chew double trouble gum while running, unless you've taken years of didgeridoo lessons. I've always wondered if this was just a joke, but a little bit of research shows that this was a reference to the Dart Goblin. Its description reads, runs fast, shoots far and chews gum. How does he blow darts with a mouthful of double trouble gum? Years of didgeridoo lessons. Apparently, it was intended to be a reference to the rascal girls who shoot double trouble gum, but in my opinion I think that it's more akin to the Dart Goblin, since his description is literally taken word for word from the loading screen hint. Level 5, The Abyss. Spirits are souls of wizards. There are fire, ice, and electro spirits. There are also fire, ice, and electro wizards. They both also have the same effect. A fire wizard's attack is the same as a fire spirit's attack. Maybe the spirits are inside the wizards and power their attacks. You might say, what about the heal spirit? There's no heal wizard. Well, maybe the heal spirit powers the battle healer, or maybe the miner. Kings are literal gods. How can the king summon lightning from the sky at any time even though it's sunny? This is different from the electro wizard, who shoots electric beams from himself and is powered from an electro spirit. The king doesn't appear to have any special abilities. The lightning example could be passed off as it being a hologram, like I mentioned earlier. However, something very dark you may want to consider is that the king might be forcing troops to fight against each other. Maybe one day, the king in Clash of Clans badly lost a battle. He was so angry that he became insane. After that, he found happiness in the suffering of others. So he forced troops to fight against each other. He's the king. You can't disobey his orders. Something that gives this theory the tiniest scrap of merit is that troops seem to always walk blindly to other troops without caring about what's happening around them. For instance, why wouldn't a troop run away from a bomb? Yes, this fact is probably just a gameplay mechanic to make the game more strategic, but in an ultra-lore mindset, you have to consider this. And that's how Clash Royale came to be. It's just power-hungry kings forcing troops to go into battle over and over again. Yeah, I'm not even trying to hide the fact this is completely far-fetched. Let's move on. The golem is a slave. In the golem's old design, he had a choker around his neck. I don't think the golem is making any fashion statements, so this has led people to theorize that the golem was a slave for the king. This probably isn't true. I don't think Supercell would add these dark undertones in a game meant for children. In Jewish folklore, the golem was made out of clay and brought to life through rituals for protection. However, the golem quickly turned against them. Maybe the golem in Clash Royale will get its revenge against the king for enslaving him. Who knows? Maybe the elixir golem was hostile towards the king in his reveal trailer for that very reason. Graveyard summons dead troops from the ground. When troops die, you don't see their skeletons. They have to go somewhere, so this means they might be absorbed into the ground. Maybe it brings the dead skeletons from troops that died before. This also explains why the graveyard can be placed anywhere, since troops die everywhere. The P.E.K.K.A. is the queen. I would have included this in the P.E.K.K.A. is not a robot entry, but this theory is particularly interesting. In Clash Royale, we never see the queen. We see the king, the princess, and the prince but not the queen. So where is she? A theory that I've thought of is that the queen wanted to fight in Clash Royale, but she couldn't for some reason. The queen really wanted to fight though, so she got the builder to build her armor that would make her look like a robot on the outside. And that's how the P.E.K.K.A. came to be. The mini P.E.K.K.A. prince parallels. Also, the prince could be the mini P.E.K.K.A. They both share the same strength of doing a lot of damage, and they share the same weakness of their slow hit speed, making them weak against swarms. They fulfill the same role in the deck. Also, the mini P.E.K.K.A. used to be epic and the prince used to be rare. Now, the mini P.E.K.K.A. is rare and the prince is epic. Their rarities were swapped. The prince's two movement speeds are medium and very fast. These average out to the mini P.E.K.K.A.'s fast speed. They also both have a very unique quality. They create a hard-hitting sound if their target does not die on attack. which if I'm not mistaken no other card has. Take a listen. They are also both very level dependent. A level 14 mini P.E.K.K.A will one-shot a level 14 Fire Bally, but a level 13 mini P.E.K.K.A will not one-shot a level 14 Fire Bally. A level 14 Prince will two-shot a level 14 Fire Bally, but a level 13 Prince will not two-shot a level 14 Fire Bally. This is more of a stretch, but both the mini P.E.K.K.A and Prince have a variant. For the former, normal P.E.K.K.A removes 4 letters from mini P.E.K.K.A, and for the latter, Dark Prince adds 4 letters from Prince. While there are a lot of parallels between the Prince and mini P.E.K.K.A, the logistics aren't there. Why would the Prince want to disguise himself as the mini P.E.K.K.A? He already has a pony and a lance, and going on foot in a heavy suit of armor would be a severe downgrade. The log wants to kill the lumberjack. The log was created by the lumberjack. The story goes that the lumberjack drinks the rage potion to make him chop trees faster. However, one day, he spilled the rage potion he carried on to a cut log. The lumberjack didn't think anything of it and continued cutting trees. However, the log became sentient from the rage potion and watched the lumberjack basically murdering its family. Because of this, the log hates the lumberjack and wants to kill him. This is what the devs mean by the lumberjack and the log go way back. King's Neglect. Neglect their daughters. There's one mechanic in Clash Royale that is probably just for gameplay, but in the context of the lore makes no sense. The king doesn't fire until it has been hurt or one of the princess towers was defeated. Why wouldn't the king protect his beloved princess when there's a cannon ready to defeat enemy troops available? It's only after the princess tower is defeated that the king actually joins the fight. If the theory about Clash Royale being a sport is true, then there's an obvious explanation to this. It's a rule to make the game more fun. Until the king tower is attacked or the princess tower is defeated, the king is not allowed to use his cannon. So if that theory is true, then the kings aren't neglecting their daughters, it's just a rule in the sport. Clash Royale takes place in 1917. This seems oddly specific, but I believe that there is proof. First of all, looking at the technology used in Clash Royale, there are cars, planes, and electricity. These were all things that existed in the early 20th century. However, modern technology like computers do not exist. This means that Clash Royale takes place somewhere between the Gilded Age in the 1880s and the Roaring Twenties, which is in the 1920s. Big brain. I know, I could have never guessed that the Roaring Twenties took place in the 20s. During the Depression in the 30s, I'm pretty sure that the common people wouldn't really care about this silly game that uses expensive technology for no reason. So we have a general time frame, but we can narrow it down further. It's obvious that Clash Royale takes place in Finland. Supercell is headquartered in Finland. The CEO and co-founder Ilkka Paananen is Finnish, and in Clash of Rama, the characters that we are following throughout the seasons reside in Finland. The system of monarchy is clearly present in Clash Royale, since there are literal kings, princesses, and princes. And guess what? Do you know when, for only a couple of months, Finland was a monarchy? That's right, 1917. This clearly falls between our time range of 1880 to 1929. Addictions. Some foods and drinks in Clash Royale seem to have some addictive properties. First of all, we all love pancakes. However, the mini Pekka takes that love above and beyond. In the animation I used to prove the sports theory, you can see a first-person perspective of the mini Pekka. Every troop looks like a pancake. When the mini Pekka joined the battle, he was out of control at the thought of eating pancakes. He destroyed everyone in his path, and if there wasn't a pancake filter on, it would have been rated R. The mini Pekka alone defeated every troop on the battlefield and took out the crown tower. When he was coming back to the waiting area on his side of the arena, he was greeted as a hero and even an elite barbarian, who is probably the toughest guy in the world, toppled over when he came back. The mini Pekka has so much power, I mean just look how much damage he does, and it's all fueled by his pancake addiction. He is profoundly addicted to pancakes, so much that it alters his perception of reality. Maybe in the world of Clash Royale, pancakes are a hallucinogen. This is a tragic tale of a young boy, who is likely 9 years old, who went on a downward spiral once he started eating pancakes. However, people weren't helping him beat his addiction. On the battlefield, his addiction was a good thing, and he was encouraged when he returned from the arena a hero. Because of this, pancakes became an integral part of who he is, and he started seeing the world as a pancake. Also, the lumberjack seems to be addicted to rage. The rage is basically steroids he takes to be faster. He seems to be crazy after taking rage. Anyway, I think that'll be it for this video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Well, that was disappointing.
Yeah. The viewer didn't even learn the deepest secrets this game has to offer.
Is there any way to overthrow the YouTube gods and send the viewer into the void?
Maybe, we would have to intercept the entire video and add on the void at the end.
I mean, is that even possible? We just have a measly 1,000 subscribers, and the YouTube gods are, well, gods.
To be honest, it's going to be quite the task. But we must inform the community, even if we die trying.
Well, then, let's attempt it. If the viewer does indeed get to explore the void, that's huge. Let's send the viewer on a journey they will never forget. Level 6, the Void. We have 8 more entries left in our journey down the iceberg. They are the deepest, darkest things I could find about Clash Royale. Skeletons are reincarnations. We all know that skeletons are associated with old age and death. After you die, you rot into a skeleton. Then how come skeletons are depicted as the kids in Clash Royale? The skeletons are also small. They have childish voices in Clash Royale.
So that's who never tips at Clashmas.
And they are literally the witch's offspring. Maybe, just maybe, skeletons are reincarnations. When you die, you go through your life cycle again as a skeleton. Since skeletons obviously don't age, they stay kids forever. This also explains why the skeletons in Clash Royale are associated with bombs, like the bomber, wall breakers, balloon, giant skeleton and more. All the dangerous jobs are given to the skeletons, since they can't die. But wait, there's more. The only type of skeletons aren't just your classic Larry. There are skeleton dragons, giant skeletons, skeleton kings, and more. It might be that when a regular humanoid troop dies, they become a normal skeleton. When the dragon dies, they become a skeleton dragon. When a giant dies, they become a giant skeleton. When the literal king dies, they become the skeleton king. This explains why you don't see many skeleton kings around and why there can't be more than one in the arena at a time. There's only one since over the years, kings die a lot less than the troops on the bottom. This theory is very intriguing. Troops never die, they just serve the rest of their time as a skeleton who is basically an equal to everyone else in society. How wholesome. Clash Royale is a simulation. This is a twist on the sport theory. Why do all troops fall out of the sky when deployed? Maybe troops from Clash of Clans are jumping into a simulation and fighting to the death there, and when they die in the simulation, they just get transported back to reality. Elixir might be the power source of the simulation, which is why you need Elixir to modify it. Okay, sending troops into the simulation through Elixir collectors. You get one every 3 seconds to use. Also, what if Clash Royale is a simulation used to test out new weapons? That explains why there are a lot of troops in Royale that aren't in clans. The king is just testing them out to see if they would be useful in battle. A fact I mentioned earlier is that troops don't seem to have any free will. They walk blindly towards each other. This is due to a limitation of coding on Supercell's end. So if Clash Royale is a simulation, this is actually canonically true. In an animation for the battle ram, they crash in the background, revealing a simulation. This was referencing how Clash Royale is just code. So what if it actually is, in universe? Let me go on a little controlled tangent. If you look at every single game with a lore mindset, every single game is a simulation, because every single game is just code in real life. I can take Minecraft and while analyzing its lore, I can just say it's a simulation and make some stupid storyline bouncing off of that. The difference is whether it's actually relevant. In other words, while looking at Clash Royale lore, I'm not going to state the fact that it's a simulation if it has nothing to do with anything else. Slight spoiler alert for my cookie clicker lore video that is coming in the future. Yeah. About that, I mentioned in a community post that I was scrapping that video since it was way too tedious to script. Sorry, back to the video. Anyway, in cookie clicker, the fact that it is a simulation is clearly relevant, since the JavaScript consoles and the idleverses are literally powered off the fact that they are inside the simulation. So while talking about that game, I would say that it is a simulation in the lore. So what's my point here? There's almost nothing else in Clash Royale that has to do with it being a simulation. Sure, some characters in Clash-A-Rama somewhat hint at the fact that they are inside a game, but even that is a stretch, and combined with the fact that Clash-A-Rama is not canon, it doesn't really prove anything. By my logic, that means that Clash Royale, in universe, is most likely not a simulation. Clash of Clans and Clash Royale are parallel universes. Clash of Clans and Clash Royale could be alternate realities. One piece of evidence is a twist on the builder Mega Knight theory. In the Clans universe, that person builds, but in the Royale universe, that person fights as the Mega Knight. The wall breakers wear an aviator cap in Clans, but this is absent in Royale. In Clans, battles are decided through all-out wars. In Royale, they are fought in little arenas. In Clans, there are Mega P.E.K.K.A.s and Dark Elixir, which are all absent in Royale. The gist I'm getting at is that Royale and Clans are similar, but have many subtle differences, which is the definition of parallel universes. In that animation about the king taking troops from Clash of Clans to Clash Royale, he could have been taking them to a wormhole that connects the Clans universe to the Royale universe. A lot of people trusted the king, so they went along with him taking them, but some of them were wary, and they were the ones taken without consent. After all, he's the king. If there's anything supernatural going on, he would probably know about it. This theory makes sense, but it seems a bit extreme. If this was true, then props to Supercell for really hitting it home in the lore department. Clash Royale and our universe are parallel universes. If the Omniverse theory is correct, then every single universe possible exists. Yes, For the science nerds out there, this logic is flawed. I recognize that. There are an infinite amount of numbers between 0 and 1, but none of them are 2. But let's just ignore that for a second. After all, this is merely a theory. Anyway, that means that Clash Royale actually exists as a universe. And considering there are infinite possibilities for universes, it's a very big coincidence that Clash Royale is very similar to our universe. Humans are in the Clash Royale universe, as well as the system of monarchy. Also, real-life countries exist in Clash Royale, such as Finland. Physics also seem to be relatively normal as well. There's also the simple fact that Clash Royale exists in our universe as a mobile game. This means that Clash Royale and our universe are parallel universes, in real life. Thank me later for giving you nightmares today. Clash Royale is a brainwashing tool. If the theory about Clash Royale being a sport isn't true, then it is more likely something resembling a gladiator fight, which can be considered inhumane. Yes, in Clash of Clans people fight and raid villages, but that is in the name of war. Having people die all the time for people's enjoyment is cruel. So when the kings erected Clash Royale arenas for people to enjoy people basically murdering each other, they obviously got some backlash, and then the king got an idea. They could make people watch Clash Royale by brainwashing them. Okay, so you're probably wondering where I'm getting this from. In the overtime song, you can hear people screaming "We want more" in the background. It's easier to pick it up with headphones. Now, why would they be yelling this? I've never seen anyone in a sports stadium yelling "We want more." It's only if people are somehow enthralled by watching this that they would do that. Royal recruits and Dark Prince are mind-controlled. An alternate explanation to the robot recruit theory is that they are being mind-controlled through their helmets, similar to the goggles in The Incredibles 2. Think about it. I stated before that the Dark Prince is a promoted recruit. Why is he called the Dark Prince? Why can't he show his face unlike his brother the Prince? If the royal recruits are robots, then why are they humanoid? The builders have no reservations building robots that very clearly do not look like humans in any way, shape or form. So obviously, this theory doesn't have a lot of merit. But if the theory is true, the implications are truly massive. For the recruits, mind-controlling them is obviously inhumane, but he's the king. There are probably thousands of common people out there, and fighting in the arena with an elevated status would definitely be an upgrade. But for the Dark Prince, things quickly become sinister. Just put your tinfoil hat on for a second. So if the bucket mind control theory is accurate, that means the king is mind-controlling his own quote-unquote beloved son. That's just messed up. Spirits hijack troops. Going off the same topic, a lot of troops have versions of themselves that align with the elemental powers. For example, there's a fire wizard, ice wizard, and electric wizard. Guess what also are the elemental powers? Spirits. There's the fire spirit, ice spirit, electro spirit, and the hail spirit. This bounces of the theory that spirits are souls of wizards, but it's more sinister. Spirits might be able to hijack troops and change small elemental attributes about them. Like what if the Electro Giant was possessed by an Electro Spirit? What if an Inferno Dragon was possessed by a Fire Spirit? What if the Miner was possessed by a Heal Spirit? See where I'm going with this? Every troop in Clash Royale is a clone. This is truly the deepest rabbit hole about Clash Royale. How do troops in Clash Royale come into existence? And more importantly, why does every single troop have equal strength? A level 14 mini P.E.K.K.A. always does 955 damage. That's amazing stats for the cost, even though genetics tells us that there should be some variation. So are troops just produced? If so, why don't the kings just make them super powerful? In Clash-orama, we can see somewhat of a survival of the fittest mindset. When the king is picking troops to be in his deck, he picks the stronger barbarians over the weaker ones. This is logical, obviously, so maybe the weaker troops do exist, but we just don't see them in battle. But that still doesn't paint the full picture. So what if levels have to do with different genetic traits? Maybe some troops are just naturally born a higher level. For instance, one lumberjack could be born as level 10 and does 220 damage, but another lumberjack could be born as level 9 and only does 200. You might say that this doesn't happen in-game, but that just might be because it would be kind of game-breaking. Imagine being in Arena 11 and unlocking your first Electro Giant and it being instantly level 14. People in low ladder would probably quit. The simplest and most plausible explanation is the sport theory. Maybe one mini P.E.K.K.A. is born naturally stronger than another one, but in the arena, when they hit something, they lose 955 hit points as part of the game. Like I said, it's similar to laser tag. No matter how strong you are, your attacks just simply do the same damage. This also explains why spells in the Miner have a reduced amount of damage done to crown towers. You are able to manipulate things like that if you're designing a game. We are literal gods. Isn't it kind of strange that we have full control over anyone and everyone? We can place down troops whenever we want. We can upgrade our troops whenever we want. We can give away our troops whenever we want. We can change the troops' stats whenever we want. Hell, we can erase their existence by deleting our account or uninstalling the game. We literally can do anything we want. In their eyes, we are their gods. They cannot rise up and tell us what they want to do. What if Clash Royale was just a game created to entertain the human species? Could this be true? Oh wait, it actually is 100% guaranteed true. It appears that in our journey down the darkest secrets that Clash Royale has to offer, we have come full circle back to reality. Is it finally time to leave the void? In any case, one thing is clear, Clash Royale might seem like a simple game meant for children, but today's journey has told us otherwise. No matter whether all of this is true or false, it is something to think about, and that's more important than any fact. Well, you've made it. The culmination of 8 months of work has ended. I can rest easy knowing that anyone who watched this video has now been enlightened. My mission isn't to get as many views as possible. My mission is to simply make people care. This game has so much potential, and yet it's ever so wasted. I want to be the start of the Clash Royale revolution. This video is most likely the most work I've had to put into something ever. If you came this far, thank you. You have no idea how much work was put into this project. I really hope, from the bottom of my heart, that this video does as well as the last one. Subscribe to join me on this journey as we take over Clash Royale YouTube. I'm most likely not going to make a third iceberg unless something major happens with the lore. I think I can finally put this project to rest. Well, that's it. That's the end of the iceberg. I'll see you in the next one.